I have some numbers here because when we look at operational costs in terms of running ATMs, and some reports say, some analysts have said that these banks are making huge profits despite the hue and cry about, oh, the cost of running ATMs are high for us to maintain them. And they're still making a lot of profit. How do you correlate? How do you marry the two?
No, they are making profits. It's not as if without this they won't make profits. They are making profits. But you have to also look at, if you manage a bank, what are the profits meant for? If you make a lot of profits, how are you going to deploy those profits? How much are you going to use to subsidize ATMs? How much are you going to use to expand your branch network? How much are you going to use to pay your shareholders who brought the money in the first place? It's not that this has anything really to do with the capacity of a bank to make profit or loss. No. The banks will continue to make profit. But what do you do with that profit? Should you just use it to maintain, if we are taking this matter in an isolated case, to just maintain subsidized ATMs? Or should you use it, spread that profit to all the stakeholders involved, even the staff who expect better salaries and better benefits, the shareholders who expect dividends, the public who expect corporate social responsibility, more services. So the profits from the banks are, it's not an issue of profit or loss of the banks. It's an issue of whether maintaining the ATM out of those profits in the long term, it's a good deal for the banks.
When we look at the fact that the ATM thing is part of the financial inclusion program of the central bank, they're trying to encourage online payment system, cashless policy as it is called. Now that charges have been reintroduced, do you think it will affect it in any way? Because it was some kind of relief for everyone to know that I won't be charged when I use the ATM machine. Now that I will have to be paying some amount, even if it's a full time, I'll be withdrawing it from another bank's ATM. The psychology of Nigerians, the way we'll be wired, we just want to do things and we don't want any obstruction, as the case may be. But how would it affect how we, relate to this cashless policy?
So the interesting thing really is that if you really want to use your ATM, your debit card, for what it is meant for in a cashless environment, you should be going to the ATM very, very rarely. Very, very rarely. Because your debit card, which you use for ATM, you can use to buy goods in most supermarkets. You can use it to fill your gas in most gas stations. So you really only need to go to the ATM where you need a small amount of money, maybe the newspapers, maybe some very small amount of money.
But that is not the case.
Yeah, but here in Nigeria, we are not using the debit card for a full cashless environment where we actually use the debit card to make a lot of payments. So we still go to the ATM to cash money and go and buy things where we could easily have used our card, the same card, to pay for them. So that transition should be encouraged rather than discouraged by these charges. But we need to get, the banking system need to get out the right information, that this should encourage you to use your actual ATM card to make your payments. Because it's a double trick. You go to the ATM, you cash the money, then you go and buy whatever you want to buy.
Because there have been challenges with having to go to a supermarket, for instance, and you want to pay with the, using the POS machine, and some deductions are made without reflecting it in the receipt, that it prints out eventually that you've made some, payment. Because at the end of the day, you have to resort to the ATM machine to go and withdraw cash to pay. And now, if you don't have the issuer bank's ATM, as this being called, around you, you have to use another bank's ATM, and you have to be charged for it.
Yes, the cost, this extra cost of 65 naira is going to be there. It's going to be a cost that, as a public user, I don't want to pay it. So I'm saying, as a public user, I don't want it. It would be nice if I don't pay it. But if I look at the whole situation from the service provider point of view as a banker, then one has to see why it is there. It's good if we can have, if everything can be free, it would be nice. But sometimes you have to pay a price for you to get that improvement. The issues we have with POSs now, the issue we have with even the ATMs themselves, sometimes you go to the bank, you want to use your ATM, it gets stuck there. All these infrastructure issues are transitional. Over time, the POS machines, there will be more POS machines everywhere. One of the reasons you have rightly pointed out is you can't use your debit card to buy things in a lot of places because we don't even have enough POS machines. Not all gas stations.
Some are not working.
Some are not working, some are defective. But these things should be addressed in the context of improving our payment system, rather than 65 naira being, an issue. The issue is how quickly can we deploy more ATMs and reduce 65 naira gradually to a figure that nobody will really bother about. If it comes to 10 naira or 5 naira, you probably don't even want to talk about it.
Now the question is the reintroduction of this withdrawal charges the only way that the central bank can, or rather that commercial banks can make up for the losses that the losses in quotes that they're recording in other parts of their operation?
No, actually they can afford, they have shown it before, they can afford not to charge anything and still make good profits. It is just in the process of engagement with the CBN and the banks that this decision has emanated, that let us reduce some of the costs we are carrying now.
Okay.
It's not as if, it's not a survival issue for the banks.
Okay.